Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Thunder Pod. I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things, so today I'm just going to be doing an AEW-centric show. I honestly have a lot of WWE stuff to catch up on that I missed when I was in recovery and dealing with other things. So that's probably going to take me a couple of weeks to catch back up and get the vibe for what's going on in the Fed. But I have been keeping up with AEW as it's, as you know, is my truest love. So today what I'm going to be doing is my review, star reviews, and a brief recap of All In, and then a little review of Dynamite that followed All In. It will be yesterday, Wednesday, recording this Thursday night. So we'll kick it off with All In 2024. I believe it is AEW All In London 2024, because now it seems like Tony Khan has decided to make All In his WrestleMania, and he's going to be doing stadiums, but not just Wembley now. Looks like Texas, Australia, they're going back to Wembley again in 2026. They've advertised that already. Had 50+ thousand in attendance here. Obviously that's not 80,000, but 50,000 is awesome. And I think it's a sign of people being kind of excited for a lot of the stuff that's going on in AEW right now. I don't think it'll ever really get back to its peak form, like 2021. That was just like a magical time. But I think it is, I think it's as close as it's going to get right about now. And it's also my favorite wrestling promotion of all time. And it ain't close. This thing was built for me. So, this year's All In, Wembley Stadium, the build to it was much, much better. The matches have much higher stakes. It really shed the bad stink of an 80,000 seat house show, which all in 2023 kind of was. It was a bunch of 8-man tags and then a comedy match. This was like tons of stakes. They had the winner of the Owen Cups getting world title shots. Obviously, the main event is Bryan Danielson putting his career on the line against Swerve Strickland for the AEW title. Women's world title, another great program going on. Mariah May won the Owen there. It was not, in my estimation, a perfect show. There was a lot of good, not great, one god awful, and then like three or four fucking phenomenal, fucking out of this world. So let's kick it off with the beginning. I'm not going to do the buy-in show, the 0 hour. I'll mention briefly that because it was a surprise to me, Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii, I think, getting his first ever win in AEW, defeated Statlander and Stokely. But that is leading to a match at All Out, singles match between Stat and Willow, and Willow's prize for winning this match on the pre-show is she gets to decide the stip for All Out. But to start the show proper, the AEW, the AEW World Trios title defended in a London ladder match by the Patriarchy. Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne, with Mother Wayne, a mother. The House of Black, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, shocked that Buddy Matthews sign back up for a multi-year contract. I think everybody on Earth thought that Buddy and Malachi were probably out the door. I think that goes to show just how much the dirt sheets actually know. Versus the Pack Pool Combat Club, which is Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac, who seems to be supplanting Moxley, both on this show and on the subsequent Dynamite, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Far as the match goes, the Bang Bang Gang were definitely the standouts for me. It was super fucking cool seeing Juice Robinson do his Juice Robinson shit in front of that size of a crowd. I'm big on the Ass Boys now. I feel like they're trying to build the tag division back up with a couple of signings, one of which we'll talk about shortly, and MXM recently, and I think I'd like to see the Ass Boys slotted back into the tag division as well. I think they could do for another title run. I think they kind of deserve it too. They've worked their asses off and proved intensely. This trios match, it was a London ladder match, if I didn't mention. Solid match. It's what you expect from these guys. Brody, boy, the thing that stood out to me is Brody King is super fucking over. Ultimately, the Pack Pool Combat Club wins, and Christian blames Killswitch at the end, which will dovetail into another story beat a little bit later on. I gave this one 3 3/4 stars. The AEW Women's World Title match, Timeless Tony Storm with Luther, the champion, versus Mariah May. Despite a bit of heat loss, like after the super awesome heel turn, because it kind of dragged on a little bit, this program, I was certain that this match was going to deliver on the night, and it fucking did. Super brutal. Both women are just like known for hitting super hard, and that's what they did. Tony had busted wide open. I love that AEW allows the women to bleed, because they're humans, so they would bleed in fights too. It's kind of funny. The Fed never let women bleed, but the stuff that they were privy to and did do to women for a bunch of years while they were not allowing women to bleed on camera, because that would be uncouth. Something else. There was an incredible sequence in this match. Like just strike, cracking the shit out of each other, that ended in a double headbutt, which sounded like a thunderbolt, and both women going down, and immediately after that elicited a standing ovation from the 50,000 strong. Mariah ultimately wins. Pretty brutal match, but I do feel like there is still more for these two. I hope the feud will continue, because I do want to see another match, at least between these two. Maybe a stepped up one, like a lights out or cage, something like that. Because I think the escalation of brutality is the best thing that they can do, because this match was great because it was so goddamn brutal. 4.5 stars for that match. I'm tired just looking at this. The FTW title. Chris Jericho with Big Bill and Brian Keith, Redwood and Bad Apple versus Hook.
Oh my God.
I'm exaggerating. It was fine. Big Bill is super, super fucking over, both on Collision and on this pay-per-view. People love Big Bill, and they don't. I don't think the Jericho's at the Learning Tree stable knows what to do with that right now, because he's not a babyface. People are sure treating him like one because he's awesome. Hook ultimately wins a very okay match, and then gets the biggest pop of the match when post match he hugged Taz, his dad, because those two don't show a lot of affection towards one another. I really wonder how the Taz household has to be an interesting place. I'm picturing the two of them just like staring daggers into each other over like the dining room table every night. Not for any like animosity or anything, just it's just in their DNA. 2.5 stars for this. I can't go any higher than that for the Learning Tree. I know there are people that are into it. I'm just not. I can't. Next was the AEW World Tag Team title 3-way match. The Young Bucks of Matthew Jackson and Nicholas Jackson, the EVPs, versus FTR versus the Acclaimed. FTR of Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. Cash and Dax took their names after Axe and Smash of Demolition, if I've never mentioned that before. I think that's pretty neat. And the Acclaimed Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, with fucking Billy Gunn, of course, there at ringside for whatever reason. Again, this was a good but not great match. There was a pretty fun series of like mismatched partners. Like it'd be Caster and, Cash Wheeler doing a EVP trigger, and then Nicholas Jackson and Dax Harwood doing a Shatter Machine, a bunch of stuff like that. Ultimately, the EVPs retained, and then the main thing to come out of this match was the grizzled young veterans hit the ring to a very, very big pop right after the match. They teased going after the Bucks, but then attacked FTR, so that should be a pretty kick-ass feud. I mean, I actually hope that they put that on the All Out card, too. As far as this match goes, 3 3/4 stars. Next up was the AEW World Title #1 Contendership Casino Gauntlet match. This was, in my opinion, the very best Casino Gauntlet match they've done yet. They seem to be improving upon the structure of this match every time they have it. And this was not was exactly that. It was the best. Not just because of the action in the ring, actually primarily not because of the action in the ring, as much as because of the surprises. Of course I'm biased, but Jesus Christ, in 2024, this stip match beats the ever living hell out of the Royal Rumble. The Rumble it's become so disappointing every year, waiting for surprises, and it's always a letdown. I think this is the best version of that kind of match. I also like that the countdowns are not at like specific intervals, so you get big surprises. The match started with, we knew Orange Cassidy was number one. Number one obviously being an advantage in this match as opposed to a Battle Royal, because you could pin somebody immediately and win. But we did not see the number 2 guy coming out, which was Kazuchika motherfucking Okada, the Rainmaker. And he got the reception that a man of his stature deserved. Place went fucking apeshit for him. Okada looked great. I like the the character stuff they've been doing with him. Not a big fan of the way what's been going on with the Bucks and the all the crazy, confusing authority figure bullshit. But I have really liked the Okada stuff still, and I do think we're getting close to time to pull the trigger on Rainmaker Okada returning, though. After seeing the reaction he got in this gauntlet match and then the performance he put on, the story of this match, though, which was probably my second favorite match of the night, were the absolutely incredible surprises. I mean, I had guessed, as had many people, that Ricochet was going to debut. He did. Got big pop, good music. And he looked awesome here. He looked awesome at the pay-per-view. Like, he was super amped up, doing the Ricochet thing where he's jumping higher than anybody else in wrestling can. Looking like indie Ricochet from 8 years ago or whatever. Before the Fed snuffed out his soul. So my hopes were pretty high after Ricochet's performance here. We'll talk about the Dynamite performance. It's a little bit different than what we got here. But Ricochet was one of the surprises. We got a ZSJ, Zack Sabre Jr., who I actually think performed the best in the ring in the match, doing all his neck-breaky, twisty ankle bullshit. And that was like the highlight, I think, of the actual in-ring of this match. Biggest surprise by far, though, was the third entrant coming out to a just kick-ass, I am told, Oasis song. It's the same song that Brad Pitt entered the boxing ring in Snatch 2. Nigel fucking McGuinness, looking svelte and almost like he hadn't missed a beat. He wasn't quite as fast with the catch-as-catch-can stuff as he could be, but ring rust, for Christ's sake. It's been 13 years. And he was able to hang with Zack Sabre. So, like, Nigel's going to be all the way back, I think. And he looked like he is ready to roll, like, full-time here. And I also like that like, Nigel entering this thing is like a tacit admission on his part that, like, he's worried that Danielson's going to win the title. For those of you guys that don't know, because they haven't really ever talked about it on TV, the Nigel McGuinness Danielson thing. A lot of people know that they had kind of a legendary feud. A lot of people consider the best feud in Ring of Honor history. Way back when, 2006, 7, something like that. But the real animosity comes from not the series of matches, but Danielson and McGuinness were both brought in with the intention of being hired by WWE. And McGuinness, unfortunately, because of the injury history that he disclosed, was disqualified from participating in WWE. So he lost this big chance, and he then shortly after was pretty badly injured and out. And so he believes, had he gotten hired by the WWE, which they did fully intend to do, the injury probably never would have happened. He would have had Danielson's career, basically. Because what Bryan Danielson did was, admittedly at this point, lie about his injuries to the WWE and get signed. He lies about everything. A very good idea to lie in this circumstance. Maybe not for his own health and well-being, but Jesus Christ, the career the guy got out of it. But that is where all the resentment and animosity that Nigel McGuinness still holds to this day, I think, to a little bit towards Bryan Danielson. And I can't wait to see Nigel and Danielson go at it again. It'll just be cool. The finish of the match I did not see coming at all. Another surprise was Christian entered. Christian Cage entered the gauntlet, and shortly after, Luchasaurus came down. After Christian kind of berated him after their match, and he did come out as Luchasaurus, not as Killswitch, but it was like a double switcheroo, and the patriarchy came out on top again. Killswitch was, in fact, there to help his father, and Christian wins the Dynamite gauntlet. And I couldn't be happier because Christian fucking rules. 4 3/4 stars for this. I want to give it 5, but like, I don't know. I always think the next one is going to be better, so I'm just going to in perpetuity give these things 4 3/4. I think. I do think that this was so special and awesome, and they've perfected it to the point that this has got to be once a year. Oh, some people think it should be its own pay-per-view. I personally think it should be a mainstay on the All-In card, but once a year. It should be a once a year thing. Make it special because it fucking rules. Next up was the AEW American title match. Your American hero, MJF, the champion, versus Will Ospreay. Will bloody Ospreay. The Billy Goat Prof. Jesus Christ, Ospreay is basically a god in the UK. When he did a big Assassin's Creed nerd entrance, and the place just if there was a roof on it, it would have come off. They love him so much. I mean, it makes sense. He kept going back to the UK and when he didn't have to, when he was signed full time to NJPW and becoming a giant star there, still returned to the UK. Was like the face of Rev Pro for a long time, face of UK wrestling, and it shows. The appreciation is there. The crowd went absolutely bananas for him. MJF, I was a little disappointed he didn't come out to the Living in America Apollo Creed Rocky IV song, but he was wearing, for his entrance gear, the Apollo Creed gear, including the ridiculous red, white, and blue Stars and Stripes top hat. And then something I didn't notice until second watch, once he took off the entrance gear, he was wearing the fucking, by God, Lex Luger trunks. It is brilliant. MJF is one of a kind. This match, it was a lot like their first one, the almost 1 hour easy dub. But what do you know? It was tighter and more brutal. And obviously because they didn't have to go an hour, so they can go a little bit harder. It's MJF and Ospreay. What can I tell you? The finish had Ospreay finally overcoming his inner pussy and hitting the Tiger Driver 91. By the way, the most brutal looking one that he's hit since Kenny Omega, at least, if not just the most brutal looking one he's hit for the win. And then MJF sold the fucking shit out of it because he did not move a muscle, laying prone on the canvas for like 5 full minutes. I went 4.5 stars on this one. Really, really excellent match. Cannot say the same for the next thing on the card, the AEW TBS women's title match. Mercedes Moné with Camille, the champ, versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, as I predicted on the prediction show. No heat, because both these women feel like heels at this point. And that's exactly what happened. Could have heard a rat piss on cotton, as they say, during this match. And then Mercedes and Britt followed suit because they had absolutely zero fucking chemistry. And neither one of them seemed like they even wanted to be there. Boo, 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 boo. This should definitely not have been on an AEW pay-per-view. And these two should be ashamed of themselves because they both have so much more in them, in ring, at least. 1.5 stars. I debated 1, but it did pick up a little bit the last 30 seconds. Threw an extra half star on it. The AEW TNT title coffin match, the scapegoat Jack Perry versus Darby Allin. This match was pretty awesome. But these two definitely have a way better match in them. Darby did obviously try to kill himself several times. But essentially the entire match was a build to Sting's return, which was super dope. Darby got put in a body bag and then put in a coffin, and the scapegoat was gonna light him on fire, and then Sting's music hit, and he came out, and we all popped. Like I said, really, really excellent match. But these two, I'd like to see them go a little longer and have a real, non-gimmicked, knockdown, drag-out affair. Still 4 stars. Oh, and before we get to the final match of this show, because my soundboard is new to me, I screwed up and I forgot to hit this when talking about Nigel's return. So yeah, obviously the place went apeshit for him, and that music rules. I hope they have the permanent, like for Orange Cassidy. I hope that wasn't a one-off for All In, because it's an Oasis song. Hopefully Tony just keeps paying and keeps that song for him. And with that said, the next match on the card was our main event of the evening. The AEW World Title match, title versus career, Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana as the champ versus the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Dope entrance for Danielson. They did a collage, retrospective of his career to this point. Like a Green Day time of your life type of thing. It's a bummer that they can't use the WWE footage. They should just share that footage. Who gives a shit? WWE is always very, very open about how little they see AEW as any kind of threat. So may as well, form a working relationship and let them use footage for stuff like this or the Sting retirement. If they really are not concerned about AEW down the line, how could it hurt? But it was still cool seeing all the Danielson Ring of Honor stuff and then into the AEW stuff. Still got a pretty cool career retrospective out of it. Swerve, the champ, gets the big live performance entrance. Multi rappers, garments, ridiculous as always. But he actually had real rappers with him. I think they were lip syncing. We decided because they sounded too good, and it's just too hard to rap and walk down the ramp and sound good, because rapping live is just hard as fuck. In this match, guys, just a few of the spots. Swerve brushing off the Busaiku knee. I should mention Danielson's family, Brady, Bella, Birdie, and whatever the son's name is, were ringside. Obviously, that being the big story. But the big spots, the Swerve getting hit with the Busaiku knee kind of in the chest while he's moving backwards, and he just brushed it off like nothing. Danielson bleeding like a fucking stuck pig, 5 minutes in to a half-hour match. and just selling his goddamn ass off. It felt like Swerve was going to kill him, to the point where like near falls just out of control. Danielson actually kicked out of a JML driver, big pressure, which Excalibur pointed out was the first time anybody's ever done that. And he kicked out of a number of house calls too. And he was being brutalized for most of the match. Where there was like the turn, where Danielson fighting from underneath, Swerve keeps going over to Danielson's family and taunting them and showing them their bloodied father / husband. The point that the match turned, the crescendo, and the crowd was just fucking insane for the entirety of this. Swerve tries doing the yes kicks to Danielson. This is after like just total brutalization. He's covered in blood. He even bleeds better than everybody else. Just took everything Swerve had. It seemed like a completely broken man. He was on his feet, but hunched over and completely like out of it looking. And Swerve, to add insult to injury, steals Danielson's move, starts doing the yes kicks. But as he's doing them, Danielson is slowly pivoting with each kick his body to face his family in the crowd. And as each kick hits, he hulks up more. He gets more fired up. He gets more and more energy. And at this point, he looks directly at his family while, again, Swerve is kicking him, and he screams, "I love you so much. I love you so much." And that was the turning point in the match. Swerve did get the upper hand a little bit again later on for another false finish, but that was the turning point for Danielson. Absolutely incredible submission finish. He put the label lock on. Swerve was able to break the S grip, and Danielson did one of the best looking finger breaks I've ever seen on Swerve. So he was able to then hook in, I think, like Rings of Saturn kind of thing. At which point Swerve finally did tap. And we got my very favorite thing in all of wrestling.
The winner of this match, All Elite Wrestling World Champion, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
I think Justin Roberts has got the best current, and I think the second best all-time and new. The Fink is always going to have that place in my heart, just because I grew up with it, and I think the Fink may have actually like coined that, saying it that way. But man, that and new always just hits so nice. New champ. We all cried. I also have a theory. I've heard some other people, some rumblings about, and I think it might be accurate. I think Bryan Danielson is full of shit, and I think he was lying about the entire promising his daughter that he'd retire from wrestling or from full-time wrestling. I think it was just made up. I think it was a total work, because that's what he does. We fall for it every time, but he's the best worker. He's the best liar in the business. I don't think that ever happened. Birdie after the match said it was the best day of her life. Although Danielson said that it may have had something to do with the double-decker Peppa Pig bus that she got to ride on, but she absolutely loved the match. Anyway, I think it was bullshit about the retirement. I think is kind of bullshit about the neck surgery too, because he doesn't ever talk about real injuries. Golden rule with Danielson: If you think he's hurt, he's not. If you don't think he's hurt, he is. I think there's a chance he might have like a year-long run with this title. Just because I think he would think that was funny. I think that would be incredible because it'd be Danielson versus every top guy in the company, which, thank you, Jesus. 5 stars, obviously, for this match. After the fact, too, and I sent this out via text to some friends, this match solidified it. I was already leaning in this direction. Bryan Danielson is my personal number one. He's the GOAT. I think he's the greatest professional wrestler that's ever lived. The argument is always Brett, Shawn, are the two big ones that from people from my generation generally. I like to throw Stone Cold in there because he had that very short but absolutely the hottest run I've ever seen. It was like Pedro Martinez in 99 and 2000. But just overall, it's Brett and Shawn. And I think Danielson is like the best of both. I think he's got the in-ring that Brett does. I think he's actually a little bit better in-ring than Brett. I think he's a better seller. And he is just as precise. And the emotion that HBK is able to elicit from us, the fans, Danielson could do that too. There was not a dry eye in the house after this match. He has it all. And to imagine, at one point he was almost essentially fired for not having the right look. I think he's the greatest. I think he's the kind of guy that I'll be talking about in 30 years to grandkids. The way that like Meltzer talks about having watched Terry Funk in his prime. Danielson is just absolutely something else. As far as the show as a whole, like I said, the highs were so incredibly high that, despite it not being quite as strong top to bottom as the past several pay-per-views, the incredible energy in the building, and then the 3 or 4 fucking bangers, and then such an emotional. It was akin to WrestleMania 30. Danielson actually said this was his favorite match of his career. He texted Swerve shortly after, and saying that, this pay-per-view kicked ass. All Out is coming up in 2 weeks, better than 1 week. Next year they're going to move, thank God, all into July, so we'll get a month between, the standard month. All Out does feel more like a pay-per-view, like a real pay-per-view, especially after this Dynamite that I'm about to talk about, than it did last year. Last year was just ridiculous. Like Moxley versus Orange Cassidy for the International, I think, was the main event. Ugh. But anyway, how do you follow up a wonderfully successful, gigantic stadium show in Wembley Stadium with a super emotional, incredible 5-star match of the year candidates pay-per-view? You go to Champaign-Urbana, dump that it is, and have a Dynamite with like 1,000 people there because it's Champaign-Urbana. Why are they running that town? It felt like a practical joke, like coming off of All In and all the good vibes. And there was good stuff on this Dynamite. But just it's so silly. Like working, I want to stay close to Chicago, work Indianapolis or something. Champaign is like a college town. So I suppose like you're hoping for college kids, but AEW is notoriously expensive ticket wise. It's just weird choice. And speaking of weird, the way that Dynamite opened this week was a very stoic Jon Moxley still walking through the crowd. Shout outs to this. I agree. If he's going full heel, you got to stop to walk through the crowd. He did come out to his NJPW music though, which is very it's metal and it's heelish. And he gets in the ring, so Shivani hops in too because he's like, well, what's going on, Mox? Because Moxley's demeanor is completely different than normal. Moxley, so Shivani interviewing, puts the mic in front of Mox. Mox says a bunch of weird shit, and then that he's here to talk to a guy that's not here right now, somebody that's not anything like him and everything like him. Darby Allin, we got something to talk about, and I won't be hard to find. Then he goes to leave the ring, and Shivani starts to say like, well, you got a great show, yeah. And then Mox comes back into the ring. I thought he was going to hit Shivani because he was very menacing, but he just grabbed the mic from him and said, "It's going to be hard for you people to all wrap your heads around this, but this is not your company anymore." And I liked this. I liked that as if they would have let that sit just as ambiguous as it is and let it sit for 7 days as a mystery. It's cool to see Mox doing a different character, at least a little different. And it would have been nice to continue to kind of guess at what's going to happen, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit later. Not completely. It's still not super clear what this is, but there's still some mystery to it. But they did. They pulled the wool from our eyes a little bit. Excuse me, with the segment that happened a little bit later. Next up, we got the conglomeration backstage. Willow is the first on the mic, says that the stiff that she's choosing for All Out in her match with Statlander is a Chicago street fight. I love when they put the city name on. And a great match for All Out, though. Pay-per-view worthy match. The highlight of this backstage segment, of course, Mark Briscoe. The word of the day is The word of the day is indefatigable. And that means the inability to be fatigued. And tonight, in 8-man tag team action, we gonna whoop some ass. Let's go whoop some ass. Let's go whoop some cowboy ass. Cowboy ass because the next matchup was Tomohiro Ishii, who apparently is part of the conglomeration, versus Hangman Adam Page. It was interesting that they put this match on. It went for super long. It went for a half hour or something. Maybe a few too many forearms. They did a forearm exchange that was a Peter Griffin fucking comedy bit where it went so long that it was funny, and then it was okay, and then it got funny again because it went that long. Besides that, I thought this was Ishii's best match in AEW. He took, holy shit, something I've never seen before. Hangman DDT'd Ishii on the apron, and
Oh my God.
he didn't just spike himself. He spiked himself on the top of his head and then remained in that position with the top of his head on the apron and his legs up in the air. He got spiked from the DDT and it stuck him into the apron like a fucking lawn dart. It was amazing. The match was good. It didn't really get heated up with the crowd until the last 5 or 6 minutes, but it did eventually get there. In the last 5 or 6, the crowd was pretty into it. Hangman obviously won. At which time Was it right now? Yeah. So yeah, after Hangman gets the win, Swervicus Strickland comes down and goes nose to nose with Hangman. Talks about basically how we found out, by the way, that when Hangman was out with personal issues a while back, he was having a second baby, because Swerve said, "You don't know this, but in your new house that you moved to get away from me, I drove there, and I parked in front of your house, and I was watching you, help your pregnant wife into the house, and watching you take care of your daughter, and I realized that that Hangman, there's nothing he can do to me, so I'm going to stop worrying about him, and the less I worry about you, Hangman, the better I get, and the more you worry about me, the worse you get, the more you kind of fall off the deep end." And Hangman at this point does lose his mind. He just basically says, "You're a piece of shit." Like, it was like one of those, I have nothing, I got no comeback, so fuck you, you piece of shit, asshole. But then we got this out of it.
Like this began, and I want you on your knees.
Okay, yeah, you want to lock them out? How about we lock them out and we lock us in? All out. Steel cage match. Wow.
Fuck yeah. So there's your main event for All Out. The best feud going in pro wrestling. I don't care what anybody says. It's the best feud going by a mile. And we get to see those two fucking psychos go at it in a steel cage. I hope nobody dies. I can't wait. And like I said, All Out feeling like a real pay-per-view, because that is a real pay-per-view main event. Next up was Jamie Hayter making her in-ring return against Harley Cameron with Saraya. Hayter really has not missed a beat. And like the weight loss, because she's visibly thinner, it does not seem to have affected her ability to do any like her killer backbreakers or those fucking Stan Hansen lariats. She hits just as hard. Harley, who I have championed quite a bit in the past, got a little crossed up trying to do like a head scissors takedown, I think, and would put herself in a little bit of a dangerous position. And Hayter, even, like, she saved her. She was able to kind of catch her and right the ship, which pretty fucking impressive for your first time back in the ring after 15 months away. Unfortunately, I do not care at all about Saraya versus Hayter, so I hope that's just like a quick get past it and move Jamie on to bigger and better things. Quick feud. I think that Saraya's kind of on the outs with the company anyway. Next up was some learning tree bullshit. Bad Apple's funny. And they tried to play off how like super, super over Big Bill is right now, because that's a problem for them. They are in the multi-man against the conglomeration later on. Next up, we got a very, very good MJF promo. Comes out back in his like almost all black attire, the black and gray Burberry scarf. He's got his like throat kinesio taped, which is very funny because I don't think taping your throat could possibly do anything. But he tells everybody that basically I'm in extreme amount of pain, and if you people don't keep your mouth shut and respect me, I will jump the guardrail and beat the shit out of every one of you. He then disowned America, outside, of course, the most magical place on earth, Plainview, Long Island, New York. And then he calls out Danny Garcia, who cost him the match at at All In. Danny does hit the ring at this point. And he gets like a fucking shitload of offense in. He's like, kind of beats the hell out of MJF. I guess it makes sense. MJF is in kayfabe very like beat up at this point. He tried to return the favor of the top rope pile driver on MJF, trying to kill him basically. But he got distracted when security like ran into the ring. They get pulled apart. MJF's outside of the ring. Danny's in the ring. Garcia continues to impress and improve on the mic. He says that he's the one that stole MJF's Dynamite diamond ring and used it to pawned it to pay for a ticket to London so he could fly out there and ruin MJF's day. He also then says that he spoke with Tony Khan, and we are getting MJF versus Danny Garcia at All Out. I think Garcia's got to win this one. He's got to. They've been stop-start too many times with this kid, and he just, with the shaved head, he looks badass. I know he's still only 25, which is nuts, and he has plenty of time. I assume he re-signed because they got him in a program at MJF. But man, he needs a big win. I know MJF is coming off of a loss, but like, he's MJF. He can talk his way back into anything in 2 seconds. Next up was the 8-man tag match. Roddy Strong plus the Learning Tree for some reason versus Hook and the Conglomeration. Kyle O'Reilly, Briscoe, and Cassidy. They could do a Conglomeration 8-man tag every week, and I will be a happy boy. I'm not going to go through all the spots, but you know what they look like. It's awesome. It's the Conglomeration doing an 8-man. Hook eventually chokes out Roddy Strong, or taps out Roddy Strong. But in doing so, the ref, I believe it was Aubrey Edwards, missed the fact that Roddy's foot was, in fact, under the rope. And it was, some people online were speculating that was a botch or a mistake, but it absolutely was not, because they did a close-up on the foot, and they would not have done that if it wasn't an angle. So we got something maybe between Roddy and Hook coming up. I'm just happy Hook is out of the Jericho vortex. Next up, we had the Mercedes Celebration, which was a big giant pile of dog shit. It was like her and Okada, poor Okada, in a room, like a little room with some balloons, real low rent looking. And then at one point, Mercedes asks Okada how to say goodbye, bitches. And he whispers into her ear what most people know is sayonara, bitches. But then Mercedes said saranara, bitches, which at least made me giggle. Her mic is so bad. She needs to pick it up and pick it up big time. She's had about half of her matches very good, half pretty disappointing, and the mic is the mic. Then Mariah came out with like a weird little promo. She just came out onto the stage, said she didn't want to celebrate her title in champagne. I don't blame her. Champagne is a fucking dump. She just gave a little peek, like a look-see at her. She opened her robe and had the belt on and like a negligee kind of thing. And said, you're going to have to wait till I'm in a real town for me to have my celebration. At this point, I thought I was having a stroke because the Grizzled Young Vets cut the exact same promo twice, back to back. It made me like want to call my doctor and make sure everything was okay, because they cut the promo backstage on the Young Bucks, and then they closed it with, if you see the Grizzled Young Vets coming your way, grit your teeth. And then they cut away from that backstage segment to a pre-tape grizzled young vets in front of like a green screen saying exactly the same fucking thing, almost word for word, and finishing it with, if you see the grizzled young vets coming, grit your teeth. I I don't know who screwed up there. It was pretty funny, but it felt like everybody was kind of hungover from All In. Maybe that's why they booked Champagne. But I've never seen that before. Never seen a promo done back to back identically in two different locations on one show. Next up was Ricochet's debut singles match versus Coyle Fletcher. And I gotta say, after looking great at the pay-per-view, Ricochet looked kind of dog shit in this match. He seemed to like completely gas halfway through the match, and he was like noticeably slower than Fletcher and most AEW wrestlers. And my hope is that he just has to like untrain the Performance Center bullshit from his mind and retrain himself to work the kind of style that you're expected to work in AEW. Because if he doesn't, if he's continuing to work this style, and he used the finisher, it was kind of crappy too, he's going to be in some trouble. Because like the version of Ricochet on this Dynamite was not as good as any member of Top Flight. And like top level Ricochet before the Fed, was like Osprey level, absolutely incredible. So hopefully he still has that in him, and he just has to get accustomed to working the kinds of matches that they're going to be expecting from him. Because I do not want to see Will Ospreay versus a shadow of Ricochet. The main event of the evening was just really actually Bryan Danielson coming out to address his future. So he does the big salmon suit, Mark Henry tease. Like once I've won the belt. I know I have to have neck surgery pretty soon, and I still owe it to my family, to yada yada, but I'm not done yet. And the crowd goes fucking apeshit. He plans to be a fighting champ, which that's great news to me. And he offers an open challenge. At which point Jack Perry pops up on the Tron and accepts the challenge and is talking shit to Danielson. And while Tron Perry is talking shit to Danielson, Perry in real life sneaks in the ring behind him and attacks him. And that's going to be our all-out match, which I think is good. I think it's a good thing because I like Danielson defending the title on the next pay-per-view. And I think Jack Perry is the right level for who we should defend it against, because the main event of that show is absolutely going to be Hangman and Swerve in the cage. It's got to be. And if you're not going to put the world title in the main event, more of a upper mid guy, which is what I would consider Jack Perry right now. And those two, they could put on a fucking absolute clinic too. I expect them to, actually. Danielson just does with everybody. But it sounds like a pretty good all-out card. I don't have it in front of me, the entire card, but just the stuff that was talked about on Dynamite so far is sounding pretty goddamn exciting. I'm definitely a lot more excited for it than I was for last year's bullshit, whatever that was. That'll do it for this week's Blue Thunder Pod. You can find us on socials, Twitter at Blue Thunder Pod, TikTok, Blue Thunder Pod, YouTube, The Blue Thunder Pod, and all of the above at, bluethunderpod.com. Thanks for joining me again this week. I'll be ratcheting up coverage as I get back into the groove, be doing WWE stuff. Aaron and I are going to be recording Royal Rumble 2000. There's a little taste for you. Turnbuckle Time Machine this Monday, so look out for that this coming Tuesday. And for Blue Thunder Pods to be coming at you weekly from here on out. because, God damn it, I love professional wrestling.
He's simply ravishing.